Are we live? I think we are. Gonna tweet it out. I'm always late. Sorry. Always stuff going on. Do we see me? I think we do. Okay, sorry. Oh, we can hear me on me. Alright, anyway, guys. I'm sorry about being late. It's always hard. I just want to get things perfect. And I had an emergency having to pee session, I guess, right before. So, let me just get all my ducks in a row here. And let's get this. Hold on. Image. Hey, how's it going? All right. I shaved for this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Mic fall. Excellent. That's what I needed on this stream. Make me look like a jerk. Okay. Hopefully this mic will be okay the rest of the stream. Hey, what's up? It is Jim. Thank you all for being here early. I'm sorry it took me a minute. And now we are here. Niji Kichu arrived just when I got here. That's crazy. Anyway, yes, we have a lot of stuff to get through tonight. It has been a crazy movie news week. I almost wasn't sure what exactly to start the show with or headline the show with because there's so much. But I think we obviously have to start with Spider-Man. But I want to say we are going to go through a lot of topics tonight. But I think it's going to be a good one. Obviously, everything in the thumbnail. If you're watching this later, I will have time-specific links in the thumbnail, so you do not have to watch all of me talking about other nonsense if you don't want to, just so you know, including the other stories as well, although I hear that doesn't work so good with the mobiles, but that's just life, I guess. So, anyway, yeah, how are you guys doing tonight? I hope you all are having a good weekend. I've got Servo and Crow here. I don't think that looks too great. Those are the Funko Pops I love. Don't die on this stream, buddy. I won't. I hope not. Although I still have my cough's kind of gotten a lot better today. It's been hanging around. I keep a cough for a while. But Kleenex maybe? I don't know. I know there's a special edition Servo Crow Funko Pop, which I would like to get, but I think it's expensive. Anyway, there will be timestamps. Apparently they don't work on mobile. Yeah, if anyone knows how to get those to work on mobile, let me know, because I couldn't figure it out. But anyway, they work on desktops. I don't see what the problem is. Let's have water. There's a Red Bull here. Don't worry. I didn't fucking sell out, guys. So, this is not, Zane Powers, I'm sorry I made you sick. This is a sort of a new recording space. I've been using it. This is another room because I live with other people, and you know, my wife wants to watch TV and I want to stream, so separate rooms. That's how it works, kids. I got water on myself. Kleenex is the next Lord Miller joint. All right. So, I think there's a bunch of surprise news. Some we knew. Yeah, water on my face. I hope I don't look gross. All right. So there's a lot of surprise. There was a lot of surprises we sort of knew, but this was the big one that I think caught us all by surprise. And that is Spider-Man coming back to the MCU. Basically, nobody thought this deal was going to work out at all. I don't think anyone really did. But it did this week, finally. So what exactly does this mean? First off, we're getting a third Spider-Man movie. Hopefully this one works out this time. On July 16th, 2021. And Kevin Feige will produce. It means Marvel is getting 25% as well as an equity stake of 25%, meaning they're paying 25% of the budget, and will get 25% of the profits. Now, I said this last time when I did the Marvel stuff. I've not reviewed Soul Man. That was in the chat if you're watching later. But with Soul Men, did you say Soul Men? Whatever, I didn't review either. So it's not, looking at you. Okay. So, that threw me off. I shouldn't have looked. So, Kevin Feige will produce. They are getting 25% equity stake. The one thing is that you should always understand about this MCU Marvel thing, the Disney Sony deal with Spider-Man is Disney always makes more money. They have the rights to Spider-Man. They have the merchandising rights. You always make more money on merchandising, like billions of dollars more. I know it's a different division, but it's, billions of dollars more. So fuck that different division stuff. They're making more money. I understand Feige's time is precious, but they're making like so much more, it's ridiculous. But regardless, they got their 25%. Kevin Feige's involved. 2021 is going to be a crazy MCU year for real, and because you're going to get 4 Marvel movies in 2021. In 2020, I think we're getting Eternals and Black Widow. Is that like it, right? I think, and a bunch of the limited series. Is there? Those are the only 2. Was there another one? Someone in the chat's going to be like, you forgot about that. But with 2021 at least, 2020 doesn't matter as much, but in this conversation, but in 2021, you have Shang-Chi starting off in January, February, probably February most likely. In May, you get Doctor Strange 2. And then then you get Spider-Man on July 8th to 16th, 2021. And then after that, in November, you get Thor 4. Now, here's the thing, is that's a lot of movies, and I would totally expect them to move something at some point, especially with another Kevin Feige story later in this show. I sort of think, because there's been some people saying, the other thing of this deal, which I should have mentioned also, is that Spider-Man... this deal is only for one Spider-Man solo movie and for him to appear in a Marvel team-up movie, an additional Marvel team-up movie. And so I kind of think that might be a future movie we don't know about, because the only movie that is dated, that is not in 2020, that's past 2021, is Black Panther in 2022. So I kind of think that could possibly be a team-up movie we don't know about. Some people have said it might be Captain Marvel 2. Who knows when that's coming out? We also don't have a date for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which probably isn't the one. I think it'll be a new Avengers movie, most likely, because they're making him into the new Tony Stark and so forth. And although most people have said that arc is really trying to do the Uncle Ben kind of a thing over the course of all these movies, not like just have the Uncle Ben event being the thing, although he clearly had an Uncle Ben. Does he ever talk about Uncle Ben, or just does he talk about the rice? I don't know. But that complicates things. But I fully expect them to sort of move something off the slate, or move Doctor Strange maybe later, because there has been that theory that since Doctor Strange is getting interdimensional, maybe Spider-Man will be in that. I sort of don't think so. I think all of this was sort of planned out, although I'm curious what were the meetings like between when this negotiations fell apart, and what were they considering doing, and the rumors of Lord Miller maybe taking on Spider-Man or something like that. John Watts is expected to come back. There's nothing to read to the contrary, although he hasn't officially announced anything yet. So we'll see, but I sort of think he would finish out the trilogy, much like Sam Raimi. So he's one better than Mark Webb, which I would say for sure, because he's definitely... Has he made more good movies than Mark Webb? I didn't see Clown, so I guess I can't say that. Yeah. I think this was... I didn't think this would come together so quickly. I actually thought Sony would fuck it up, but there's too much money on the table here. And with too much money on the table, they couldn't let that go. So Spider-Man is back in the MCU. We are all back together, and everything is good, I guess. We'll see where this goes. I'm curious what's going to happen, like how long this deal will last, because this deal, if they don't have a date or any idea what the big team-up movie is going to be right now, that could last until 2023, 2024. But it does mean that Spider-Man is going to interact with the other spin-off movies they're doing, including Venom 2. He could be involved in that. He could be involved in the Morbius, which is shot and in post-production. We'll see what Tom Holland's doing, but I did like that he posted that clip from Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, is this like a meme? He didn't really do that, but apparently he did, so I thought that was fucking hilarious. So in other Spider-Man news, Sony also announced before all this happened, but I'm not talking about this news first, obviously, is they announced they're making a Madam Web movie. Everyone seems to think the Madam Web movie was going to be the old lady Madam Web, not the younger Madam Web interpretation I'm totally unfamiliar with. I know Madam Web in the cartoon was voiced by Stan Lee's wife, so but I don't really understand how this movie will work, but obviously they have a take or something. It's being written by the writers of Morbius. I don't really have much to say over that than like, okay, I guess, yeah, I don't know. There was also, in other Spider-Man news, there was kind of a clip, an online clip of JK Simmons doing more J. Jonah Jameson. So you should check that out, to be honest. I think that would be... it's a fun little thing. It's worth the watch, but I still kind of don't get, like... I love J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, but to me, he's the J. Jonah Jameson of the 1960s, not the, Alex Jones J. Jonah Jameson. I feel like that should be someone else because the context changed, but he kills it either way, so who cares? But I do think if you're going to change the context, you honestly could have changed actors, but does anyone want to live up to J.K. Simmons? No man ever has and ever will, so what's the point? Yeah. All right. So next up, I have two animation directors who are announced live action projects this year. First is the cursed Uncharted movie, which probably will never get made, but this is a good director choice, and that is Travis Knight is directing Uncharted. It's been announced or is in negotiations or something. Tom Holland's big film career seems to be working out a lot better right now than it ever has before, but I think he's a good choice. I really liked what he did with Bumblebee and everything like that. Niji Kichu adds a fun fact, so I guess that's a Red Bull fun fact. We're going to open that, and I knew about this fun fact. It's interesting. They bring up fun fact: Corona has never paid a single cent in product placement in all Fast and Furious movies. They have only provided beer for them to drink. I did know that because Vin Diesel, I can't speak on this show where I speak all the time, is a big fan of Corona. That actually is how I started drinking Corona, because I like a lighter beer. I'm not a real hoppy person, I think. Anyway, to you, thank you for the super chat, Niji Kichu. You were awesome. Okay, so Travis Knight isn't... Wow, we went back into that. Travis Knight is an excellent choice for the Uncharted movie. I like Travis Knight. He was considered for Venom 2. They clearly went in another direction, but it seems like Sony really wanted to continue to work for him. I'm curious what this means for the future of Leica with him, and maybe Leica and him are moving in different directions. I don't know. But I think what he did with Bumblebee, I really think he would be really good in an Uncharted movie. Next up, the other animation director announcing a live-action film is Dean Deblois, I think, who directed the How to Train Your Dragon films. He is doing a Micronauts movie. Micronauts, that's in the Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Is that in the Hasbro Cinematic Universe? Oh, man, I totally forget if it is. But that was announced this week. I know he has wanted to make a live-action film for a while, and apparently before How to Train Your Dragon really got off the ground, he was deeply considering that, according to him. It was Marvel. Is it in the Hasbro? Yeah, it is Hasbro. Okay, I thought it was Hasbro. I don't know why I looked that up, but I was concerned. So anyway, so yes, Dean Deblois is making this film with Hasbro. Micronauts were with Marvel at a certain point. I don't have much nostalgia for Micronauts. I know they were mentioned on Freaks and Geeks. That's about as far as I go with them. But Dean Deblois, I know, has wanted to do different things. And hasn't really gotten to, and he was happy with the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but I heard in a lot of interviews he kept mentioning live action things, so it's not too surprising, but I think it's cool. It's sad that DreamWorks is sort of kind of losing him to another studio, but he can maybe do what the Pixar directors do and retreat when it doesn't work out for him. But I think it actually will. He's a good adventure director, and I think that would really work out for the Micronauts. And at least this will be promising and interesting. Visually, he's such a smart filmmaker and a complex filmmaker visually. There's so much going on in the backgrounds of his movies. It's like sometimes I'll just watch in How to Train Your Dragon 2, visually it was so complex what was going on. There was like another movie going on in the background. It was crazy. Like, I'm very curious to see him especially do a live action movie. I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited about Travis Knight, but more, I'm a big How to Train Your Dragon fan. If you didn't, oh yeah, I'm wearing the shirt. All right. So there's a lot to talk about with Netflix and animation before I talk about the Star Wars news, because I feel like you guys most likely are more interested in me talking about the animation news, knowing this stream. And we all like animation, don't we? I didn't know Dean Deblois did Space Chimps. Thanks, Ryan Walterson. So Bojack is ending after this will be Bojack's final season, season 6. It will be broken up into 2 parts. One that's coming out on October 25th, which is like less than a month away. And then the second part is going to be next year on January. I put January 32. Let's just say it's coming out in January. Clearly fucked that up. Previously, people were saying, because this got canceled and Tuca and Birdie got canceled, that it was a union thing. And they canceled because as soon as they had a union, they wanted to get rid of that. The show, that apparently is not the case. And I want to give a shout out to Ostrich Vox for clearing that up and handling it actually really well. I thought he did a really good job, because it sort of sucks, as I learned with my Sonic fan art thing, when you think something is news and then someone's like, especially when you're doing this publicly, and someone goes, yo, that's not true, that's not what's going on, and you kind of have to take your lumps. So but anyway, I thought he handled it very well. Props to Ostrich Vox of the Roundtable. But it seems, it's had an incredible run. 6 seasons is not a failure. That's a great thing. That seems like Bojack's been one of the greatest shows of this decade, and it's sad it barely is going to go into the next one. But I've liked most of it. I don't remember maybe I missed last season or something, but I think it will. It seems like the union thing. Netflix has come to terms with it, but they're not fully canceling things because of it. Tuca and Birdie, I think they just didn't. It seems like almost everyone from voice acting and so forth didn't fully even know, like, if anyone was watching it, had a lot of questions about marketing. So I think that just didn't work out. And Netflix needs to market their stuff a lot better, other than just like fucking Big Mouth, which I actually have never seen. But the other bigger problem, and this was an actual. Well, before, I just want to say, Bojack, an amazing show. You should definitely watch Bojack. I love Bojack and everything it accomplishes. Clearly, that creator went to Amazon Prime, so it might have just been like, it's sort of over. I think that actually plays into this more than people are saying, because Netflix is like, yo, fuck you. You just went to Amazon Prime. But that show looks really cool. I really want to watch that show. I haven't gotten a chance to, and I forget the name of it, and everyone's going to do it. Okay, here we go. Ryan Walterson, thank you for the super set. Kirk DeMonico of the Crudes did Space Chimps. Whoops. It's okay. I'm glad you put forth that much effort to correct your Space Chimps trivia. That's the kind of live chat we have here. There's a super chat, so I guess I drink Red Bull. I don't know. I just love that we're like correcting Space Chimps trivia right now. That's funny. Someone, you know what? There's somebody who's thinking about Space Chimps right now. Anyway, yeah, it was. There's a lot of reasons, if you really think about it, why Bojack was canceled. It makes total sense, in a way, and it came out later. People who worked on it said it had nothing to do with the union thing. Yeah. Oh, someone else saying. I think, I'm sorry if I put. Okay, someone Viscount brought up, because I said canceled, isn't Bojack ending naturally? That's what I was explaining. It's hard to say Bojack ended naturally. This is a view kind of economy here, so I apologize if I was being a little too clickbaity there. But I answered the question. I go into it and I fully explain it, and people want to hear about Bojack. So I think it gets the point. I'm not lying necessarily. I'm just clearing something up, but I'm apologizing for offending you. I met one of the stars at MomoCon. I did? What? No, I didn't. Did I really? Man, this Space Chimps thing goes deep. This is going to be the theme. I should have just put a picture of Space Chimps on here. Why are we even talking about anything else? I have to actually talk about a serious thing right after this, guys, and you're like really fucking this up with the Space Chimps thing. I don't. Anyway. Oh, Patrick Warburton. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Sorry. Okay. I mean, we briefly met. Anyway, he was very nice. Anyway, so I kind of don't. All right, after we laughed about all this, I don't want to talk about the next thing, but I try to keep a theme. And this is like a serious thing, so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to talk about Star Wars and come back to it. So, fucking guys, this is funny. Spaceships. I'm going to have to review stupid spaceships now, aren't I? Man, it's adjusting focus a lot. Oh, I think Crow's throwing it off, maybe. Is Crow throwing it off? Anyway, stay focused. You're not supposed to be doing that. All right, so Kevin Feige is developing a Star Wars movie. He's going to be producing it. This is meaning we have 3 different kind of Star Wars movies in development, one of which being the Benioff and Weiss one, the other being the Rian Johnson one, and now a Kevin Feige one as well that are separate projects. That's been confirmed. The other thing is he has promised supposedly a major star a role. We don't know what that major star is. Everyone thinks it's Keanu because he talks so much about how he wanted to get Keanu in the MCU. I don't know who it is. I'm a little curious that I'm not sure if it's an original project or not fully. I don't know if we fully even know that. But the fact that he's picked a particular actor makes me think it might be like a prequel or something like that. I am curious to see who would cast the directors. I put out directors. I tweeted out a list of directors who were available who've been in the MCU. But if you notice, later that day, the Spider-Man 3 thing came together and I put John Watts on there. So I'm curious who he would want to direct a Star Wars film, who he's producing. I also think he probably wants to work with Kathleen Kennedy because his mentor was Laura Schuler Donner, and he likes working with legendary producers. And Kathleen Kennedy was there during all the Spielberg Zemeckis stuff, who is one of his who are some of his kind of idols. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. There's a lot of people talking, saying that maybe the movie star thing is bullshit and was just put in there because there's no date announced. No one knows. Even if the Benioff and Weiss thing is first, it doesn't seem like the Rian Johnson thing is first. And Kevin Feige is going to be really busy, as we discussed, in 2021. So what Star Wars movie is next? I think it seems like, from what I've heard on podcasts and so forth, Benioff and Weiss is probably first. When that's coming out seems to be the debate, but it seems like Disney just is like, let's just get your first movie done and we can get rid of you. Seems to be the what I've heard. But some people are saying there's been a lot of Rian Johnson hate bubbled up again because the main reason people want Feige is so he can make a kind of a more digestible, kind of appeasable movie, because he's very good at that. I'm not saying they're not challenging or anything like that, but I think Last Jedi, the focus is weird on this. No, I guess it's fine. Oh, you want Crow to put... I didn't realize Crow was such a big deal. Okay, I'm sorry. But it's kind of interesting what's going on with that. It seems like Star Wars, because all of the other Disney properties, they really have a distinct slate and a very organized slate and everything like that. Star Wars doesn't, and that seems to be very much in flux right now. So we'll see what happens with Star Wars. We'll see what's going on with it and where Feige's even going to do it. I think he can do it, because if he's attempting 4 movies in a year or 3 movies in a year, he could clearly just go off and do a Star Wars movie. But I think they'll probably have to have his lieutenants and his other associate producers who work with him, who everyone I've read has said they do a great job. I actually don't know who they are. But I do think that that's going to become a bigger. We'll probably see him expand it, because he can't just continue to just be the main face of Marvel. He needs to develop other producer talent, and I think he has that possibility. I think he really could do that, and it sounds like he has. So that's definitely going to change. But I'm still curious. There's a lot of questions about Star Wars that kind of raised up with this being announced, and I think Feige could do a great Star Wars movie. And I think the thing that works much better about him than Kathleen Kennedy is he picks the right directors for projects. He doesn't pick. Kathleen Kennedy just goes, who's a big director that I can get, because I'm running Star Wars, and fuck you, is kind of like her whole producer mentality. She's a great producer with Steven Spielberg and other established directors. in the past from the 70s and so forth, but I don't think she's really good at picking directors because she literally just goes, I don't know, J.J. Abrams, he's the guy who reboots stuff. Her only creative choice was Rian Johnson, and everything I've read about that is more that J.J. Abrams said you should go after Rian Johnson. She was like, yeah, cool, I guess. And they did. So everybody else is like a boring ass choice. So I think they really need to have a producer who will make more interesting choices. And like, I honestly think like she can run a good production and everything like that. Why don't you just let Feige pick the directors? Honestly, I think he'd do an awesome job because of Feige, like everyone was pointing out, James Gunn, Taika Waititi, James Watts, like all these unconventional choices that most studios don't go with. And that's like one of his biggest assets is he's amazing at picking, he's amazing at having a great casting agent. He's amazing at having so many cool things, but we'll see where it goes from there. Sorry I talked so long about Star Wars. The other Star Wars thing is Obi-Wan. The series has a director. It is Deborah Chow, who has done a lot of TV stuff. She's more of a TV director. The original person who was announced, who I just remember was a director who isn't very good, doesn't sound like is as involved, but Deborah Chow is going to be more of a show runner. Now, let's talk about the serious animation thing that I was going to talk about before. Ace Windwriter asked, do we think I'm going to get a Qui-Gon Jinn film? I wouldn't be too surprised, but, Qui-Gon Jinn is super racist, so I don't think that's going to happen anymore. All right, so I'm going to read, so basically an animation studio called Top Draw, who is animating the Carmen Sandiego show that I never watched, but there's been a lot of controversy over what's been going on in the treatment of those animators, and that was going on at the same time as the Bojack thing, but that is in America. This is in, I'm sorry, Niji Kichu deserves all the credit for this because they've been really blowing this up on Twitter and blowing it up more than I could blow up anything. I think they've been doing an amazing job, and they should deserve all the credit for that. So awesome for you bringing this up. Anyway, so I'm going to read the translation of the statement. It says, please help us. Top Draw has fired 10 to 20 or maybe even more of us. Sorry, that's not cough. We've lost our jobs just now. I've been working in Top Draw for 4 years. They didn't fire us because we were performing badly. They said it was because we were no-shows. They haven't actually paid us anything but the basic pay of $2,700 or $55 with weekly tax deductions for over 2 months. Well, that's that. We've been fired with no prior notice to any due process. They forced us to sign our end of contract, forced us to surrender our ideas, and the worst part is they told us we won't get our end of project bonuses as long as we don't have an official BIR receipt to show. I have been showing them my receipts many times already, but nothing. They never even asked for our receipts back then. Did they infringe any of our rights as artists? Should there be a separation for contractual workers like us, like me? Please help us, guys. Man, that's sadder. All right. That super bums me out. And I read that already. Yeah, so they're basically, it seems like what Netflix is doing is, despite the fact that they've been unionized in America, they're refusing to treat people fairly in other countries, and that's fucking bullshit. And I don't really like, Netflix is signing these $100 million, like several hundreds of $1 million deals with other major creators. They need to really bring this to, these kind of money, that kind of treatment to these foreign studios and not treat people so poorly. I don't really like when people treat creative people this way and make millions off of their backs. And Carmen Sandiego is a major production. It's a major cartoon, and you should really be paying for it correctly and paying your staff correctly and treating these people fairly. And this is just, I don't know. It sucks being an independent creator, as I can tell you all day, but being for a studio, and they really should be treated better, and I just wanted to shed some light on that. Because as much as we find out Bojack was not canceled for that, people are being unfairly fired and treated in other countries based on that, and it's just not fair to them whatsoever, and that really should not be happening in this day and age. It's completely unacceptable, and I haven't heard that happening at other streaming companies, and I think it's shameful of Netflix to be doing that to anyone, and it frankly just should not be happening. That is incredibly inappropriate and incredibly selfish and greedy that they're letting an animation studio do that. I know it's this other company, but I'm blaming Netflix as well, because they have a ton of money and they should get their fucking shit together, frankly. Like, this should not be happening, and it shouldn't be happening anymore. We know better at this point, and like, it's just, I don't want to go like for shame, but for shame. That's fucking bullshit, and we should be talking about it more. I feel like the animation community has. Niji Kichu, I think you're doing an amazing job, and thank you for doing it. Anyway, that's why I couldn't talk about that when I was laughing, because that would have been inappropriate. But anyway, please keep tweeting that tweet. I will retweet that tweet. Not now, but later tonight. Please retweet that. Let's spread the word on that as much as we all can. I think we need to do that immediately. It's, and the pay in animation, I agree. Like, it should be treated more fairly. It's not about how you respect the medium. If you dis or don't respect the medium, like, these people are making content, treat them as fairly as people are making other content. Just because you don't take it as seriously doesn't mean those people aren't hardworking individuals that deserve that respect. All right, sorry, getting all serious. This is like the serious part of the show. I don't know. I just wanted to, I agree, that should be talked about. I took that a little, anyway. So, Batman, I guess? Cool. So let's talk about I don't talk about too much casting on here, and there was another story I wanted to talk about and I didn't list it, but I'll do it later. But there's a couple Batman stories. First off, that Jonah Hill is being cast, apparently being eyed for a villain role. Supposedly it was the Riddler, is what most people are saying. Some people are saying Calendar Man. Some people earlier were saying the Penguin, which is completely untrue. And the guy's lost weight, so like maybe everybody chill the fuck out about that. It's a little inappropriate. But apparently originally it was eyed for the Riddler. They've been after him for a while. And then whomever they were going after for the Penguin dropped out, supposedly. And then apparently he was like, well, maybe I would like the Penguin now that it's open. And so no one's sure what's going on, but he will potentially make more than Robert Pattinson for this movie, probably because he can like open a movie on his name alone, and Robert Pattinson can't. So I think he's more of a name, and it's kind of tradition for, Jack Nicholson made a lot more than Michael Keaton. Like, villains typically in these first superhero movies make more, so it's actually not as unprecedented as people think it is. I think he could be good. But you know what? I'm just going to retweet that tweet. Fuck it. Let's just retweet it, because no one's going to remember later, and that's not... Anyway, not about Jonah Hill, but because I saw a couple people mentioning it, and let's just... If you're watching this later, just scroll through my Twitter feed. It will be on there, and let's give it up for Niji Kichu for doing that. That's really cool. Anyway, let's... retweet. Okay, cool. All right, so that's there. Do it there. Oh, hey, Izzy. All right, Izzy missed my parts mostly about animation. I'm sorry. You can watch those later, I guess. Anyway, so we just talked about Jonah Hill. Jeffrey Wright is playing Commissioner Gordon. Jeffrey Wright, who's also the Watcher, is also on Westworld. We had previously heard as a rumor that Mahershala Ali was very much considered to play Commissioner Gordon. And then that didn't happen because he wanted to be Blade. So that didn't work out. But apparently Jeffrey Wright is going to be Commissioner Gordon in what I believe is being called the Batman as of right now. The next thing is about the Joker and the Joker controversy. I don't think this is... Okay, so I think where this came from is the Aurora Theater, where the Dark Knight Rises, I believe, shooting happened. They did not want to play the Joker, and I was like, yeah, you shouldn't. That would be weird and really inappropriate, and I would not want to watch the Joker in that theater. I don't think most people would. So Warner Brothers was like, yeah, we shouldn't do that. You're right. And just said, this doesn't condone violence and everything like that, trying to get, trying to kind of get in front of it. And now people are asking for more security, and you can't wear Joker cosplay to movies, but Cinemark said they won't allow you to do that. I wear cosplay to when I saw The Art of Racing in the Rain, and they let me do that, so maybe I have more simpler cosplay. So it's just kind of become a thing. I think people just took what Warner Brothers was saying and overemphasized it, but where it's coming from is a good place. And then Todd Phillips is winding people up. They just really, this is not being handled very well. I just don't. I agree with what Warner Brothers is doing, frankly. Is it too bright in here? What's going on? This keeps moving. Anyway, you can tell I am new. Maybe if I wipe it off. You good? Okay. Well, let's see what it looks like. Hold on. It looks fine. It always looks fuzzy on YouTube, but then I watch it here and it's good. Anyway, or when it's live. Whatever. Alright, so, you should be able to shoot white guys who idolize the Joker. Thanks, Izzy. Alright. So, next up, the Frozen 2 trailer. This was a cool trailer. I let Sophie watch it. She really liked it. The main thing to take away from this trailer is they get into more of the plot. You see who Sterling K. Brown is playing, how they go into this hidden world where magic comes from. I've heard this compared a lot to the How to Train Your Dragon series. I think that is going to be I think there's going to be a let's start over. So I think Frozen 2, it's going to be like the How to Train Your Dragon films, and going to age with the characters, but it looks like a cool adventure. And I sort of am curious about this hidden world that they're shooting, that they're going to have this take place in. It was interesting, and going into Elsa's powers and everything like that, but seeing them go on a journey, I think, is a good way to take it. It seems like a whole different movie. I do not know what Olaf has to do with any of it, so they should just kill him off because he sucks. Anyway, but it was a good trailer, and Sophie really liked it. She's totally hyped for the Frozen 2 trailer. Sid Haig died earlier this week. I think it was this week. Sid Haig was probably most known to people and got more attention after he was in Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. I loved seeing him after that in so many, B classic cult kind of movies. And I think it's sad. I wish he had gotten more attention when he was alive, being just kind of a normal kind of working genre actor. But he will very much be missed. I hope he makes it to the Academy in Memoriam thing. I think that would be really cool. He definitely deserves it. He was a great genre actor, and it's sad that he's gone. It's funny. I read Izzy say, I love when he reads my comments and starts smiling, and then I did that. All right. So the Uncut Gems trailer. This is a movie I'm very excited for. It's by the Safdie brothers, with Adam Sandler giving more of a serious performance. But I do like that Adam Sandler has opened up more to doing different movies now that he has the cushion of Netflix. He seems to kind of be more open to doing these sort of things. So I'm very excited for it. The trailer looks cool with a bejazzled jeweled Furby in it. Seriously, check out this trailer. It has a bling bling Furby for real. You have to see this trailer. It looks awesome. The Safdie brothers previously did the film with Robert Pattinson that I'm now forgetting the name of, which I actually really liked, and whatever it was. And everyone in the chat will tell me and all that stuff, and I'll correct myself in a couple minutes. But what was that? Anyway, I really liked their last movie. I'm excited for this movie. I think Adam Sandler has a lot of potential that he's never quite realized, and I think it'll be really cool. So I'm very excited for Uncut Gems. It's one of probably my most anticipated films of the year. That's what I think. At least. Oh, hold on. We have another fun fact from Niji Kichu, and that means I drink this Red Bull. And it was good time. Izzy, you should check out that Furby. You'll like it. Anyway, fun fact: there are 3 versions of the movie Scooby-Doo 2. One theatrical release that never had a home release. 2 home releases where one has a Burger King product placement and the other one being KFC. Didn't know that. Niji Kichu, that's very interesting. Thank you for that super chat and thank you for the support. That's a weird... I didn't know that. Why would you... Is it a different regions? You know, actually, funny story. You wouldn't think this, but KFC is actually very international. All right, so I think we're done with Uncut Gems there. So Bob Iger, who's the CEO, the head of the Disney Studios there, he wrote a book, and basically, since he wrote a book, and he's still the head of Disney, and talks about everything from the Pixar acquisition to the Lucasfilm acquisition to the Marvel acquisition, and talks about all these big things in it. You're going to see a lot of headlines. I actually want to eventually listen to the Audible version, which apparently is the first chapter read by him, and then the rest is by somebody else because he's got to run Disney, he's real busy and stuff. But consistency doesn't really work there, but whatever. But anyway, I'm going to just go through the various things that have been released that were on various sites this week. So this is Jim giving you notes on a book he's never read. Maybe next week we'll do Moby Dick. All right, so the first one is Bob Iger talked about how George Lucas was upset that his treatment for the sequel films were not being used. We sort of already knew this, but he talked about seeing Force Awakens with him, and he was extremely disappointed, but they mainly bought the treatments as a kind of courtesy. I hope there's a part in this book where they go over like how Strange Magic was purchased, don't you? But we kind of got more of his perspective, how disappointed Lucas was and how he wanted to be more involved, and how in the initial writing meetings he was involved with the writer who got so man, I like that comment, Izzy. You're just like making me laugh. I like, hey Jim, want to start a book club? Sorry. Yes, but Iger talks about yes, that George Lucas was actually really upset. He had this weird ideas about the sequel trilogy, which I'm not going to get into, but he was a little bummed out about it. And but I've heard he liked Last Jedi, so fuck all y'all who didn't like that. Apparently, Disney almost bought Marvel earlier before the MCU really started, but Eisner, this is a while ago, didn't think it was good for their image, so they didn't, even though Iger thought that was, they should, but everyone said, oh, it won't work for Disney, we can't have these various things, we're family friendly. And when Iger took over, he's like, yo, fuck that, I'm doing what I want, which is a better idea. Alright, so the next 2 are about Steve Jobs. I actually have 3 about Steve Jobs, and we'll start with the funny one, and it'll get more depressing because that's this live stream this time. Steve Jobs apparently called Bob Iger to tell him Iron Man 2 sucked. I agree. I don't know. I just think that's funny. Steve Jobs apparently also, and this is the dick move here, Steve Jobs, when he when Pixar was acquired by Disney, he apparently he became the major shareholder, and he proposed shutting down the animation division, or Walt Disney Animation, which is by the way why the company was founded, and he's a fucking prick. He wanted to shut it down, and Bob Iger ignored him and basically said, no, we're not doing that. And John Lasseter and Ed Catmull said, that's a bad idea also. So I'm glad that didn't actually happen, but that is something Steve Jobs did actually pitch at one point, because he whatever, fuck you, Steve Jobs. But the other one, oh wait, hold on. All right, so we have another super chat from Discount Viscount, said, Sir Bill, also known as the Guardian of the Highlands, is Sean Connery's actual last film. It was Scotland's first CG film, but was so bad that Scotland chose to promote Pixar's Brave over it. Wow. Really? I didn't know that about the promotion. I knew that was his last film, but that's like... Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Discount Viscount. I will drink this Red Bull for you. And finally, my final Steve Jobs story, which is the sad one. Apparently, so they're going to announce the Pixar... This is when they're going to announce the Pixar acquisition on Apple's campus. And apparently Steve Jobs like going for walks, and it was like an hour before, and he's like, look, let's go for a walk. Bob Iger, and they go for a walk. And Steve Jobs is about 5 years before he died. Basically told him, like, look, I know you're very excited for me to be the major shareholder, be a big voice in the Disney company with this acquisition, but I want to let you know that I'm dying of cancer. No one knows. It's just me and my wife, and I'm letting you know as well. So if you want to back out of this deal, but you can't tell anyone why you're doing it. And Bob Iger had to make the decision, and this is for real, to go ahead with it, even though he knew this information. And I'm curious to read that part of the book, because that seems to be a pretty heavy decision, because he could say, well, do I want those 5 years? Is that worth it? Or, will he bounce back? But it sounds like Steve Jobs is like, no, this is it. I have 5 years and it's over. So, yeah, this sounds like a really good book. I need to listen to it and just like leave, because apparently there a lot of sites and podcasts who have gone have said like there's so much stuff we can't even get to all of it, and I have a live stream. I can just talk about it all if I want to. So anyway, so next week we'll go over Moby Dick. I hope you guys bring notes. I expect like a really good discussion. So there's this other story, and I didn't get the names of it because I forgot to put it in here, but I wanted to bring it up because it's actually sort of interesting. The casting news of you know what? I don't have the person's name, and I can't talk about this. Hold on. Let's go. Hold on. Matt Damon casting. I don't know why I announced that on. Hold on. Casting. I wanted to talk about this because it's sort of a weird. Okay. So, there's this movie called The Last Duel. It is going to be about, oh, hold on. Oh, sorry, I didn't see there's another super chat there. Okay, let me do this fun fact and then a not fun thing. Fun fact, Michael Jackson tried to buy Marvel before so he could cast himself in the role of Spiderman in a movie. What? Insert Michael Jackson role here? Is that true? What? That's weird. I don't know about that, but okay. I'm going to drink this. Thank you, Nijikichu. So, dip analysis. All right, so I want to talk about this because it raises an interesting point. So basically, when you announce a casting story, you kind of go off of the information that you have about the film. What we know about this Ben Affleck, Matt Damon film, it's called The Last Duel, and basically it's supposed to be at Fox, but now it's like this film really, after this casting news, fell apart with public opinion, so I feel like it might not happen. But it's a Ridley Scott directed film starring Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, the first time they've been in a film since Dogma, and it's about this in 14th century France, so I know you guys are excited for this. Matt Damon, well, no one's sure which is which, but basically there's these two best friends. One of them goes to war, the other one doesn't, and the one that stays rapes the guy's wife, and then when he comes back from war, decides he's going to kill and have a last duel with the other guy. And basically it found out this week that recent Emmy winner Jodie Corner would play the wife, and so many people would go, oh, she plays the wife, and we're basically like, also who, according to our plot description, basically gets raped, and that's inappropriate to post that. But I do think it's like, if you are familiar with The Last Duel, when you hear she's cast, you're like, oh, that's that person. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't like this. This is weird. But a lot of people suddenly were saying like, oh, a female filmmaker actually wrote the screenplay, and Fox apparently isn't where it's going to go anymore. It's going to go over here, and like no one's sure what's going on. First off, why this movie is weird. Like, I don't really get why they're making this movie. I don't understand this movie, its motivation. I don't understand why they're letting this is the return of the Matt Damon Ben Affleck thing. Why aren't they doing more of a 90s thing with lots of cool monologues? Like, I really don't understand this project at all, and like it sounds like it could maybe be good if there's like sort of more of a take on it. I'd like someone to like respond to something, but it just sounds weird, and it kind of put everyone in a weird place movie press wise. And I noticed there's a lot of people suddenly like, hey, what the fuck, why did I have to report on that? Like, I hate this movie now. It seemed to be a lot of that. So I don't think it's a good project for both of them. I think it is a bad project. There's going to apparently be pop star sing-along screenings at Alamo Draft Houses. That sounds like it could potentially be sort of annoying, but if you like pop star, that could be cool. Let me just there's a lot of stuff this week. I'm sorry, and we're running long here, definitely today. There's a trailer for Class Action Park. This is the park that was in the movie from the Jackass people and was on Defunctland. It looks like a cool documentary trailer. If I honestly would probably watch that too. I didn't see the Jackass movie, but I did watch the Defunctland thing, and it looked cool. Jason Bateman apparently is making a Clue remake, or is in talks to direct a Clue remake, which he may or may not star in, but Ryan Reynolds is definitely in, is going to help develop. That sounds all right to me. Are they going to do the multiple endings or do their own thing? I mean, it makes sense because Jason Bateman has done like various ensemble comedies, but he did Game Night, so I don't really get why he wants to do this. The other big kind of movie story that I think you guys like Jurassic Park, I'm not sure, is that the original cast of Jurassic Park, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum, who's already back in the Jurassic World movies, but is still back, I guess, are coming back for Jurassic World 3. I'm surprised they didn't do this with the first Jurassic World, but they're doing it now, and it seems like Universal's really trying to make sure Jurassic World 3 is a hit. A lot of people are saying it's going to kick off a whole new series of Jurassic World movies or Jurassic Park movies where the dinosaurs are interacting with real life. I've heard that rumor. But either way, they want this to be a hit, clearly, with the short film last week and this announcement this week. So they're clearly hyping this up. And that's what they're doing with that. I think it'll be, I think that's cool. I'm excited to see Sam Neill in a big thing. I think clearly I'm pro Sam Neill, not Force reference. All right, so the next one is there is a Walker Texas Ranger remake. It's going to have Jared Padalecki in it. I don't really, sure. I guess I'm fine with it. I don't know what my take was going to be on that. There was an Irishman. Jesus fuck, there's so many of these things. There's an Irishman trailer after the Irishman screened at the New York Film Festival. It was a big hit. People really loved it. And I think it looked like a cool trailer. I'm excited for any Martin Scorsese thing. But I think it is going to... I really enjoyed the trailer. But everything everyone's talking about in their... I haven't really read full reviews, but just read tweets and things like that. I haven't seen in the trailers. And I think the reason people are falling in love with it isn't in the trailers, but it does look like an amazing, compelling crime story. And I love Scorsese movies. Like, I saw Silence, so, I will clearly see anything he makes. But this looks like if you love Goodfellas, this is a natural progression. Or The Departed, or Casino, or Taxi Driver, or anything. It's a good one for you to watch. Next up, all right, so I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Apple, after they were sort of rejected by J.J. Abrams over a deal that would have had a lot of money, they were going to offer him more than what Warner Brothers was, but because they had no theatrical arm, he kind of balked at doing that. And apparently, probably because of that, but they're already planning on doing some theatrical stuff. Apparently they want to do what Amazon does, where they release something, wide and like in lots of theaters and everything, and then eventually become part of their streaming library when it would go on demand. But right now they're just doing the Netflix one, and apparently they'll switch off project by project, which sounds like Apple is not innovating at all with Apple Plus and this whole thing, and it sounds pretty boring how they're promoting these things. I don't particularly like how they're doing that whatsoever. I think it's really lame. I just don't. Like come up with something new with this. Like, you're Apple, you're supposed to be innovative. This just sounds relatively boring what you're doing with Apple Plus. It's like, well, why don't we do what both the people are doing? And I'm like, what? Like, that's not even a strategy. You just picked everything and then you're acting like whatever. So right now a couple of things might come out in theaters, like Apple Plus. Good luck to you. So The Ballad of Richard Jewell, the Clint Eastwood movie, which takes place in the park that we walked through at MomoCon, which I'm sure is why it's famous. No, The Ballad of Richard Jewell is, it sounds like a compelling story. It is by Clint Eastwood. It was kind of the Oscar surprise everyone knew was going to happen. It's coming out December 13th. It sounds like a cool story if you know the story of Richard Jewell. I don't particularly love Clint Eastwood as a director, but it sounds like something he could do pretty well. So we'll see. Good night, Izzy. So Primal released a new clip. Definitely check it out if you're excited for Primal. I thought it continues to look like an amazing thing. I hope to maybe see it in theaters. We'll see about that. The Marvel TV division, apparently its future is unclear because what Marvel Studios is doing with its streaming things has nothing to do with Marvel TV. The only thing that is certain with Marvel TV is its animated stuff, which includes the Howard the Duck thing and other stuff like that. So the animated arm of Marvel TV is fine, but all the live action stuff, like how Ghost Rider was canceled this week that was in development, things like that, is totally up in the air right now. The other piece of animation news that we should talk about is if Abominable makes over $15.8 million This is true according to Cartoon Brew, but it brings a point. It will have the largest opening for an original animated film of the year. I think it can beat 15.8. It made about 5 on Friday. I obviously saw it so I bought a lot of tickets, so I helped, man. I don't know. It's up to you guys, but yeah, apparently it has to make more than 15.8 million to beat Wonder Park, which is the previous winner of that. All right. So one thing, and then I'll get to the Regal Unlimited review, and then we'll answer Patreon questions, and then I'll answer your guys' questions. So that's the deal. Apparently they're going to be, we keep hearing about these ads. They're going to play more ads during when it's trailer time, and that continues to be a story. Apparently what they're going to do, Cinemark and Regal, but not AMC, but there's kind of some interesting things with that, is they're going to play a ad right before kind of the final couple trailers. And then they're actually going to bump after the lights kind of get dim. They're going to play another trailer, right? They're going to play move a trailer to when the lights are on and move a commercial to when the lights go off. The thing about that is AMC plays a Coca-Cola commercial like right before the movie starts. So like AMC acts like they don't do this, but I'm like, yeah, you already do this, so whatever. I don't particularly love this idea. The first trailer thing, I'm like, fine. I think if it's a trailer you really want to see, I think it'll be harder for people to concentrate, and you really should be having people get into the movies. The studios are not into this idea, and I really hope they don't do it as much. All right, so let's talk about Regal Unlimited. Okay, so I talked previously about MoviePass and how I had that for a long time. I had it longer than most people. I had it from 2012 to I guess recently. I had Cinemia for a little bit, and that went defunct. And then I had MoviePass, and then that went defunct. So clearly I'm a good sign for Movie Unlimited services. But Regal Unlimited, basically I go to Regal's most, so that's why I picked it. Regals, there's more Regals in my general vicinity. Before I even get to an AMC, I have to go through various Regals. I think it is a good price. I forget, I do the highest price so I can see it at any theater in the country. When you sign up, you can see what plans work out for your area. I seriously suggest you do that. They will show you very perfectly on a map. So if you only want to go to if you live in a town and you have one Regal and it's the only theater near you and you can go for the cheapest plan, do it. And you never see movies anywhere else at any other Regals, there's no reason you shouldn't do that. For me, that wouldn't work. In New York, there's too many Regals. I had to do the most expensive plan. But I think it's like 26 or something. I quite like that plan. It works out for me. You get 10% discount on concessions. There's only a couple things that don't work about that. When I went to the movies with my family, Sophie decided she wanted concessions like right during the trailers, and my wife you have to use your phone on it. You don't really get a card. They're kind of, apparently, I'm part of the Regal Unlimited Facebook group. And in that, they're getting rid of the physical cards. It's just all an app on your phone, which is a nice app. I really actually like the app. But it has your picture on it. So no one can, like, use it unless you're with them. And, like, she wanted to use it in concessions, and they wouldn't let her. So I had to, like, come down and do that. So I don't love that part of it. But I understand why they do it. And there's something about this Regal program that I really like, actually, is that Regal really wants this to be sustainable, and that's something I've wanted from these unlimited plans, is I want them to be sustainable. I want theaters to thrive. I want people to see things in the theaters, and they've taken a lot of steps to make sure this is sustainable for them, and it can work overall for both them and the customer. And you might be saying, like, well, fuck Regal, they have lots of money, but I'm like, I understand why this works. And there's one thing they do that I think could be controversial, is that when you reserve a ticket, they charge you 50 cents. Now, that's sort of nothing in terms of, like, processing fees in terms of Fandango and stuff, but that's still something. The reason they do that is actually because with AMC Stubs, people were reserving seats and then not showing up. So AMC is theoretically losing money. I've talked to a few people who've seen something in AMC. They thought they were seeing it in a full house, and there's 5 people with them because all those people didn't show up. And this is a problem with AMC, which I've heard about for a while. Regal's taking care of that because they will basically, like, you know, I think, like, demerit you a little bit if you do something like that, and they're already charging you, so they're getting something. So they clearly want this to be sustainable. I think that is really cool of them because it's like that's a very minimal, and they're making it so, like, you won't do stupid shit like that and, like, ruin other theatrical experiences for someone. What if someone has not gone to see a movie and then that theater is half full or something, or there's a row that isn't being occupied? That's bullshit. That shouldn't be going on. So I like how you can reserve things in advance. I like that I can just use it as I don't even need to use Fandango anymore with Regal. I just use the Regal app. The Regal app has other things like Movie Bill, which previously let me take pictures with Toy Story characters with Sophie. It was on my Instagram story feed, if you remember that. I could do that with the Abominable poster. I think they're doing a lot to make it fun and interesting, and you can actually play games during the advertising the Newbie section. They have little games that you can play with it, but it takes forever to load, so I don't see how that's going to work, but whatever. I like Regal Unlimited. It seems to be working out for me. It has my points on there. It's the discount cards merged with an unlimited thing, and I think that honestly really, really actually works. Financially, it works out for me because of how much New York ticket prices are. For you, you should, you know, calculate how often you go to the movies and everything like that. That's how you should really do it. You know, what's the average ticket price, things of that nature. But I quite like Regal Unlimited. I think it's a sustainable kind of business model. I think it works out pretty well. I like how you get 10% off concessions. I like how it's connected to the points, and you got tons of bonus points offers for seeing particular films. I just in general like it. Some people claim you have to go to the ticket counter with the kind of barcode thing. You can just go to the kiosk there and scan it, and it works. They made it very easy, very accessible, and very workable. And that's something that these unlimited cards have needed for a very, very long time. And I'm glad Regal has stepped up and made probably the most sustainable one I've ever seen, and better than MoviePass. And that's certainly what I really like about them. And I think Regal has done a really good job with that. So sign up for that app if it financially works out for you. But just look at what your average ticket price is, you know, add it up based on how often you see movies or how much you plan to see movies. Financially, it usually works out. It only works out for you, by the way. If you bring someone else, you do have to pay for that person, but you can do it through the app, and it's like super easy, and you'll be paying less of a fee with that. So, which is also, I believe it's less of a fee. Probably should have looked into that. But anyway, that's how I feel about Regal Unlimited. I am very into it, and it seems to work out for me. Yeah, was that good? Are we good with that? All right. Anyway, let's finally do questions. I have some Patreon questions. They are good questions, I believe, and we're going to go through them. And thank you all for watching so long and everything like that. So I have 3 Patreon questions. They're longer ones, but they are good Patreon questions I want to add. Not that I've ever had bad ones, but you know what I mean. All right, so the first, let's have some Red Bull before we start. Actually, there was one thing. I'm sorry. A comic book store I grew up with in Maryland called Alternate Worlds is a great comic book store, and I recently read their owner is leaving, is retiring. So I just wanted to say thank you to them publicly. I'm sure they don't watch this, and no one who goes to that store probably watches this, but if you're ever in Maryland and you can go to Alternate Worlds, it was a big part of me growing up and loving comic books and getting into nerd culture and all that stuff. And I really love Alternate Worlds and everything they've done. So thank you very much to them in general for making me who I am, and thank you for the legacy you left behind for everyone there. And I love Alternate Worlds, and thank you so much for everything you've done for that community. And I hope the new ownership can live up to that amazing legacy and just keep that business, because it's been going since the 80s, and that comic book store is still there, which you can't say for a lot of them, and they're still thriving. So thank you very much for everything you've done. Yes. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. So here's a question, from, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say your name, but it is from one of the Patreon. I forget what we came up with that. All right. But here we go. Do you ever listen to another film critic's review thoughts on a film and made you reconsider your initial thoughts? For me, it was Martin Thomas of Double Toasted with his take on Spider-Man 2. And Amy Nicholson of the Canon podcast and her take on Goodfellas. I started to dislike Spider-Man 2 after Martin Thomas explained his reasons, lol, and makes a compelling case. I still like Goodfellas, but Amy Nicholson made a lot of good points. There's a lot of great stuff to overlook her main points, but I can't deny what she's saying. Goodfellas is an interesting one because actually Pauline Kael didn't like Goodfellas, but Goodfellas, it's very liked, and I like Goodfellas, but there's a lot of people who call it is sometimes called like more poppy, lighter Martin Scorsese, kind of playing the hits, things like that. That's been around for a while, but Amy Nicholson did do a good job explaining it. I don't know why I needed to explain that. There have been critics who have changed my mind. Pauline Kael has not liked Kubrick films and Sound of Music and stuff like that. I don't necessarily agree with her. And Harry Knowles, there'd be times I'd read his reviews and not necessarily agree with his opinions, but understand them. Often there's critics who have changed my mind. Amy Nicholson probably has a few times, and I can't remember exactly what she's saying. But there's a lot of critics who have before and made me rephrase things. I usually keep my own initial opinion, especially when I'm making a review, but there have been people who've slightly changed my mind. I've read what some people said about Zootopia, which made me think either way about it, particularly about how it tackled race. But I can't think of a specific review that made me. I think I don't know. I try to keep my own opinions pretty sank, but there have been ones that made me re-examine certain things, particularly like the 80s All Over podcast made me re-examine a lot of those 80s films, like 9 to 5, I think I re-examined and rewatched because of that. When certain people said certain things about Tootsie that it wasn't good, then I heard them on the podcast and it made me rethink of that one. I've rethought of Wrath of Khan. I remember just thinking like I like that more, but then when I heard people so passionate about it, kind of reinvigorated my love for it. I think there's probably I try to keep my own perspective because I'm a critic and so forth, but I think I have had it made me rethink a lot of stuff before. The next question is from Sinram. Hold up on too many of Patreon questions in the chat just because I don't want to miss any. Sinram says, so Marvel Studios and Sony have kissed and made up. Who's on your wish list for Spidey villains who could appear in the 2021 film? J. Jonah Jameson's return seems likely, and I'm sure May, Ned, MJ, Flash, and whoever Airgun Rice plays will also be back. And any other longtime supporting characters from the comics you're fond of or would like to see appear on the big screen. Hey, if they can bring back JK Simmons, why not Bruce Campbell too? Not that Bruce is a comics character, he's just drawn that way. Sinram, who's an awesome YouTuber, you should definitely check him out. He's on the side of my channel. I know Kraven's been liked for a long time. Hobgoblin I think would be good. I agree with people. I don't think they can get away with Far From Home again, and I prefer they didn't do one as jokey as that one. I wouldn't mind. Well, they did Mysterio, and he was one I actually thought would. He's one I would definitely think about. I don't. I would definitely say Kraven. I would definitely say Vulture. I would still like. I think Vulture with John Malkovich I thought was a really good idea. I would like Sandman. I would honestly like them to do another try at Sandman with the same actor. I thought he did a good job. I would also... Is that everybody? I don't know. Black Cat I think would be cool for this one, but I think that would complicate things too much. I don't know. Hobgoblin, I would say Chameleon. Do more of a mob movie with Kingpin. I guess you could do that now. Actually, Kingpin would be so cool. Why don't they do Kingpin? Bring Vincent D'Onofrio in or something, even though that doesn't connect, but I think that would be an awesome movie. All right. So next is from Will. This is the last Patreon question. Sorry. I don't think I've seen a director do a complete 180 on the kinds of projects they take helm on of as Louis Turner, I think that's how you say his name, for someone who's done The Incredible Hulk, and I think that's the only thing people know him from. It's cool that after doing the Dark Crystal show, his horizons has opened for more interesting sounding projects. According to IMDb, he's going to be working on more fantasy, horror, sci-fi, thriller type of blockbuster stuff. Good on him. Have there been any directors that come straight to mind whom have taken wildly different turns later in their filmographies. Later. I didn't read later before I read... Anyway, one who I do think of who took a turn was M. Night Shyamalan, who originally was just doing kind of personal dramas and then made The Sixth Sense and then completely changed into what he is now and then started to suck and then completely changed again. I think later Spielberg has become, he was kind of more of a genre guy and then he decided like Color Purple became kind of trying to be a prestige guy, and I don't necessarily like that turn. But I think that's more to do with respectability. I don't think anyone saw Cameron doing Titanic when you're watching Aliens. George Miller has turned so many times, I don't even know what he originally was supposed to be at this point. Same with like John Waters doing a kind of more family-friendly film, which makes sense when you've seen them all, but definitely is something that his fans are still dealing with that jarring change midway through. Even like Brad Bird doing live action and things like that. I think those are good ones. I can't think of any others. Well, actually, Terrence Malick coming back and being so precise and then making like 3 films in a row that felt like he was just fucking around with, from To the Wonder to Song to Knight of Cups. It just felt like he was just sort of just made them in the editing room or something. And you kind of like, that's so weird compared to like these very labored over films, and that's like process wise is a completely different thing. I love watching those films, but I probably wouldn't watch those 3 ever again. They're not that great. All right, so does anybody got some questions? I'm going to try to read a few that were read before. Okay, Ace Winwriter asks, what are 3 films that you must see in your lifetime? I would say Detour is definitely one of them, and that's very easy to find. Wizard of Oz, just because it's so amazing. Recent one, let's just go with Fury Road. Niji Kichu asks, have you ever eaten at a Jewell? I've heard there's one in NYC, but not sure where. I don't know what that is, so I'm sorry. So, yeah. No, I know people don't say good things about Harry Knowles, but he did used to write better reviews, but I think most of that's forgotten. Thoughts on Ash finally winning a Pokemon League from Zane Powers? I think that's great. Good for Ash. Good for Ash. Okay, Hillbilly Otaku asks, I recently got into collecting VHS and noticed something. Why did we go away from saying how much a movie made at the box office on the cover? Like, the numbers are all over the VHS boxes. Those are definitely like from a rental store. That was not unusual. That was very unusual at the time. Okay, so we have a bunch of questions now. All right, so are there any running jokes you got associated with that you don't like, be it either on YouTube or any point in life? The one that's probably interesting is I only saw Monster Trucks like once and then another time more recently. I like joking around about it. I guess that one doesn't annoy me, but there have been ones at work in real life that have. Why aren't you drinking Sparks anymore from Discount Viscount, which is a super chat? Because I don't think Sparks is good. They changed the formula, so that is the actual real reason I don't drink Sparks anymore, because it's not the Sparks that I used to drink, so fuck that shit. But I'm drinking this. All right, so back to other questions. What are some of your fondest memories of watching Adult Swim over the years? I actually have a good one. I just caught it by accident when it was starting and be like all kids out of the pool. And when I saw that it was on, I put in a tape and just taped it. And then I would actually watch it over the weekend because I was in high school at the time. And I would just get to watch it in my bedroom on my crappy little VCR with a crappy TV, just like watching all these shows and not... They'd kind of play around with the order then. They'd mess around. You never know what was going to expect. And I have pleasant kind of high school memories of watching all of that. So I actually have a lot of pleasant memories with that. Elias Cesari, I guess. What's your opinion of drive-in theaters? Fun fact, I saw Space Gyms in one. Cool. I've only been to one drive-in. I saw Shrek. Believe it or not. That's not a meme. And I also saw Evolution. I had a good time. It was cool. I'd love to do it again. I think drive-ins are awesome. I think there should be more of them. And if they're around you, definitely go see one. I'm totally serious. I think it was great. Let's see. Ace Winwriter, Jim, with all your dramatic, serious, relatable adult animations, Bojack, Justin Chamberlain, etc. When do you feel we need right now in adult entertainment? I guess you mean for animation. I think there should be more like I wouldn't mind a serious drama in animation. I wouldn't mind animation being able to cover other topics that animation normally wouldn't. I think would be really good for the medium in general. Oh man, I'm moving. Okay. Let's see. Nathaniel Fogel, what do you believe to be the most severely underrated film of the decade? I'm actually probably going to make a list of films nobody had heard about from this decade probably later. So that will happen. Underrated. Maybe Strangers by the Lake. I think that should have been, to me, that's one of the best films of the decade. I'd probably put that up there. Ryan Walterson says, fun fact, before Abominable, the last completely original DreamWorks film was Turbo? Are you serious? Jesus. Everything prior was either a sequel, spinoff, or based on a book or toys. Fuck. Well, that wasn't a fun fact. God damn it. Alright. Sorry, I went to the bathroom. Did you answer my question? What is a CBM? What does that mean? I don't know. I'm sorry. Explain what that is and I'll answer that question. If Criterion... Bruce Parker asked, that was Next Animation before. This is Bruce Parker. If Criterion were to re-release any bad movies for cultural significance, what would it be? Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Yeah. Thoughts on M. Night's new film, Servant? I don't know anything about it, but I'll probably see because I see most of his stuff, so I'm curious. I don't know what the process is. Zane Powers, what phase of your life are you the most embarrassed about for the stuff you did, said, or thought? When I was a teenager and maybe early teens, and I'm glad I didn't have a Twitter or YouTube then. Major Mekazawa, favorite fictional villainous organization in film, television. Some of my favorites are SEAL from Evangelion and the Guild from Venture Brothers. I would have said the Guild until I read you said that. Spectre is definitely one of them. Probably the League of Evil Mutants, because that was such a big part of my childhood. Whatever Skeletor's crew was called as well. Okay. Do you prefer classic Nickelodeon or classic Cartoon Network? From Antisea Bear Circle, I think. Sorry. I probably have more nostalgia for classic Nickelodeon because I was younger when that happened, and classic Cartoon Network took a few years to happen, but I definitely have nostalgia for both. I probably regularly watch more classic Cartoon Network, though. Oh, sorry if that was sad, Nathaniel Fogel. Any thoughts on a Pizza Party podcast movie? Sure, but you guys... we gotta get paid for that one. Okay, so Ryan Walterson asked, so Todd Phillips said in an interview that Joker is a real movie disguised as a comic book movie, which kind of implies he doesn't think comic book movies are real movies discussed. I think Todd Phillips is trying really hard to really push that his movie is different and very serious and things like that, but I don't agree with that kind of way to categorize art in general in movies, and I don't agree with that kind of idea. Clearly Todd Phillips does, but that's fine. That's like whatever for him, but I just don't really agree with that whatsoever. I think that's kind of embarrassing, frankly, that he thinks like that. You know, I just don't agree with that whatsoever. All right. Oh, comic book movies. So my top 3, I guess, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Verse. Probably. It would probably be Spider-Verse, maybe Endgame. Mask of the Phantasm would be in there. Yeah, I'd probably go 2 animated, maybe Endgame, maybe Guardians, Winter Soldier, Civil War's up there, Superman the movie, possibly. Yeah. I kind of count RoboCop, but I just like RoboCop. It's a fucking awesome movie. Oh, damn it. Where are we? Okay. Okay. Funnily, they actually... Oh, yeah. Oh, he... well, okay. Bruce Parker brings up that John Waters brought up Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. How do you think I heard about that movie? Niji Kichu asks, will we ever get a remake of the Harry Potter series, be it another movie series or as a show in the future? I definitely think that'll happen at some point. Daniel Radcliffe has said he even wants to play Dumbledore. If that happens, I know the Warner's plans to re-release them whenever pretty regularly, so we'll see about that and remaster them and take very good care of them. I think those films are pretty precious, so I think if they're going to do it, to be honest, a good way to do it would be animated. I think that would be a good idea. Zane Powers, what's the biggest oof you've had for a film journalist claim that got proven horribly wrong in retrospect? Um, I guess what happened to Elvis Mitchell when he just got a few things wrong that I don't think he should have gotten dragged through the mud like he did with a source code review. And I actually saw him like right after he left seeing that movie. So that was kind of one of the biggest oofs where like I definitely said, "Oh, hey, Elvis Mitchell, you're cool," and then that happened. So true story. I didn't. Maybe I cursed him. I don't know. I hope I'm answering everybody's. In the Pizza Party cinematic universe, would you be the villain in your own standalone movie? I don't think. I wouldn't be the. Who would be the villain? Oh, probably life in general. I don't know. Not Nero's. He would be the Thanos. Obviously. Where are we on this? Hold on. Okay. Major Mekazawa. What do you think is the biggest difference between 2000s era Adult Swim and 2010s era Adult Swim? Probably experimentation, but also how many people talked about it. In 2000s, I basically had to watch Adult Swim on Sunday nights, or I'd be basically like no, I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone. And now, other than Rick and Morty, that's not true. The cultural significance has majorly decreased. Even if it was shows like Lucy Daughter of the Devil, everyone would watch everyone, and now it just seems to be specifically Rick and Morty because people just don't sit down and watch TV for 2 hours. And that's definitely affected Adult Swim because when I do, it doesn't have the same feel as it used to. Who are your enemies? Sure. Okay. Let's not do too many more. Thoughts on Nostalgia Critics, Pink Floyd's The Wall review, and how it was a disaster, horribly interpreting it, awful sketch, basically everything about him on steroids from St. Powers. I've heard about it. I've heard a lot of people talk about Pink Floyd's The Wall. I just feel like he just picks like any old VHS hit from back in the day and just goes with it. It's kind of lame. Question, would a PG-13 Scooby-Doo movie work if it had a really well thought out mystery? Yes, I think it actually would work. I'm surprised they haven't done that. I think that would be a cool idea. Just popped in from Notification, said, you once said Bob Camp has had just as big as impact on Ren and Stimpy as John K. Could you elaborate? Bob Camp ended up doing more seasons. John K is more responsible for the first season, even though that was pretty groundbreaking. Bob Camp did more episodes. It really carries the legacy of the show. Sure, he didn't do the Space Madness sketches, but he did quite a lot more, so he probably deserves more of that. I would like to at one point do something on Ren and Stimpy because I still like that show, but it's obviously problematic. Okay, Ryan Welch asked, would you review The Fanatic? I don't know if I have enough time, so I don't know. What are your go-to so bad it's good movies? Probably Masters of the Universe. I really like that movie, and I saw it in theaters, believe it or not. Hello, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Oh, I think that's everything. Are we up to date? Oh, remember Saul the Mole Man? Yes, I do. All right, so that was everything. I've answered all the questions. I think I did. I'm sorry. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the videos this week. We had Abominable with an appearance by Sophie. We had the Hustlers review, which is a great movie. You should definitely check it out. We had Mystery Science Theater live review, which also was cool to do. Did you talk to Rebecca Schuker often when Ian and she worked on the show? I don't understand. What do you want me? She worked on Knockforce, so yes. It's a weird question. Sorry, but yes, absolutely, because she was animating it. Anyway, so Mystery Science Theater live review. Then there was The Thing. I hope you guys weren't too weirded out by it when I did the Woody theory. I'm basically going to take some of those segments and I cut them up a little bit and put music on them. I basically treat them as raw footage, so it's not just like I'm just taking out a section from this basically stream. So that's basically. I hope you're cool with that. Coming out next week, there's going to be a movie review vote, potentially something DC animated. I think Joker might be the following week because I have New York Comic Con stuff, but I'm not going to be at New York Comic Con, but I'm going to meet up with some people, so I think that might be later. And I think that's all the stuff I want to hype this week, but I hope you enjoyed the videos this time. I'm still working on some video essay stuff, more on that later. I probably shouldn't explain too much. And the movie review vote winner might be this week, but it might be the week after. But anyway, you guys have been really awesome. It was crazy to talk about space chimps and everything like that. I hope you have enjoyed the show, and I hope you guys have a good weekend and everything like that. And I will see you guys next time. And thank you so much for coming out and being as supportive as you guys always are. It is really appreciated. And you guys have really helped me grow with this stream. I hope to continue to grow with this as well. So anyway, thank you very much. And subscribe if you would like to.